One street over there's a life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold. Things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. Times gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. I took a walk one street over from my home, cracked and broken asphalt everywhere. I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I love today. One street over
Oh, good morning, good
there's a life
morning.
I
We're talking. I know you can sit here and watch on social media and you're like, LeBron, turn the microphones up. Hi, guys. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm Eugene Laverne, and we are visiting this morning. This is one street over. We are visiting this morning with Recovery Court, a.k.a. Judge Joel Perry. We've got Althea and Megan. You're like Althea Sickle, right? And Megan, what is your last name? I'm blank. Williamson. I went blank for a second, and you're going to have to. So we've got Megan Williamson and Althea Sickle. Sickle's just easy to remember because it's different. But anyway, I was Wilson, so it's kind of one of those things. I should remember that. But anyway, my apologies. But we're visiting with Recovery Court this morning, and I would like to thank United Way for very graciously setting aside their half hour, because they normally come on at 7:30, and they said no, absolutely, let them have the hour, because there's so much to talk about. We've got how many? What number graduation is this?
That's a number I don't know.
Oh, see, I hit you with a hard one right out of the gate.
Every single
Get on that
you're not gonna
microphone.
hear me, yeah. Every single time we do this, they go so quick. And
Yeah.
So we have the number, and then I'm like, where are we at now? Is it?
Yep.
I think it's probably 14 because it's been 8 years.
Yeah.
We've had a
have one the
graduation.
first
The first year we didn't have one, so our first graduation would have been in spring of 2015. So I think if you do the math, this may be 14, but we'll
Okay.
We'll know that
We'll
number
know
before
it.
we have graduation.
We'll know before we
We'll
have
get
graduation.
back to you on that one.
So who's your speaker this time? It's always interesting. Who's speaking?
Johnny Norton from over at South Haven.
Oh, that's going to be fabulous.
He runs
Yeah, he's
their program. You know,
Yeah.
South Haven has had a recovery program. I don't know how many years. It's been a lot of years. They've
Yeah.
had one for a long time. And so I asked him a few months back if he would be the speaker, and he's excited about it. And I talked to him the other day, and he's working on his message. So we're looking forward to it.
Well, and you know, it's so funny because we have, I'm involved with Celebrate Recovery, and I remember when Matt Driscoll first came in, he's like, we need a recovery program in Springfield. And I'm like, oh, we've got one over in South Haven. I didn't understand what Celebrate Recovery was. It's a fabulous program. But I was like, what do you mean we don't have, he was saying we didn't have Celebrate Recovery.
Right.
I was like, we've got South Haven over here because they've been forever and just an amazing stuff. So that's
Springfield
going to be
Baptist
great.
had it. I think they still have it, but
Yep.
but they've had it for a while.
So-
A lot of churches in Robertson County are doing a lot of good work with
You bet.
recovery.
You bet. Absolutely. So, Recovery Court. What is it? This will be my fourth one, I think, that I'm coming to, and we'll talk a little bit about. I'm taking students. It's going to be awesome. So, explain to people that might not know what Recovery Court is. Who wants to tell them what it is?
Sure.
Okay.
Like,
All right.
Okay, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, you got to
leave.
just slide. Y'all can all kind of go this way and adjust the mics. That's probably going to be good if we just kind of
Okay.
just all
Testing,
just shift.
testing.
Well,
Everyone
you're
hear me
good.
okay?
You're good.
All right, great.
We have 3 people on. It's just like-
Awesome.
but we've got
Hello
full-
to our 3 listeners.
No.
Everyone else
You're
on
saying,
the
yeah,
radio.
come on.
Yes, so Recovery Court is kind of like a marriage between the judicial system and substance abuse treatment. So we have people that come in with some sort of criminal charge that is driven by and motivated by a substance use disorder. So sometimes it could be a possession charge or DUIs or a theft charge where they're kind of stealing to try to support their drug habit. And they come in, we assess them. If they kind of fit our criteria, the scope of what we offer, then they come in, we give them access to treatment. There's high level of supervision. They're drug testing several times a week. A lot of them go to supportive transitional recovery housing. They do intensive outpatient treatment. They come to biweekly staffing, so every other week they come in front of the judge. It is a sanction and incentive program, which means that when they come in front of the judge to meet with him, we will kind of go over the things that they're doing well and where they're in compliance with our program and achievements that they've had, and the whole group will clap, and we do gift cards and things like that, or they'll move from one phase to another and progress forward. And if there's things they're falling short on, then we do corrective action towards that. Sometimes we do writing assignments. It's a kind of creative process. We do jail sanctions sometimes, but we try to lean away from that unless we know from our data and statistics and research that that's the most effective way to, curb the behavior. But sometimes we do writing assignments. We might have them go to additional recovery support meetings. Sometimes we have them come and sit for a court hearing, like a general sessions court hearing. And what we see is that helps deter those behaviors and kind of gets them back on track most of the time, not always, but that's the hope. And there's 4 phases to the program. They're with us anywhere from, I think we say a minimum of 12 months. It is very rarely 12 months. It's usually more like 18 to 24. So we're with them a long time. We see huge change. Some people come in from jail. Some of our pictures in our graduation video, you can see our current participants standing up in front of the judge, and then you'll see people in orange that had come just in the very beginning to sit through and see if they were accepted in or whatever. And when I look through the graduation videos, I'll see people that are now doing really well in the program that initially were coming in with nothing, sometimes no place to stay, family relationships are fractured, all those bridges are burned, and they make huge leaps of progress. So at the end of that period, once they have done all the things that we ask and we feel reasonably comfortable that they are stable and will stay stable, we graduate them. We have a ceremony like we're having next week, and they get to come up, and if they choose to say something to the crowd, and we play a little video and just celebrate them and our community and give space for everyone to kind of pause and be together through that.
I love it. I remember you guys came in and talked about it, and it was probably one or two times that y'all came in that I couldn't make it on my schedule, and then I made it a priority and I put it on my calendar, and I haven't missed one since. And so it was really I was like, oh, Recovery Court graduation, I'm teaching now, I can't go. And then the kids, we're doing, because it's audio video production, they're voting on what they're going to do for a documentary. And one of the classes, the evolution of drugs, and what happened. And I said, oh, I can take them to Recovery Court. And I called Judge and I said, hey, Judge, can I bring a bunch of kids, a bunch of students, a bunch of 9th through 12th graders to the Recovery Court graduation? And we're bringing 20. 20 of them. And I've been on them. I'm like, your behavior from now until the day we go is going to depend on whether or not you can go with us. Because I said, this is a respectful, joyous time. Well, and one thing too, and I doubled back on them, I said, and there is a moment where we have a video of those that did not make it that's going to touch your heart in a way. I told them, I said, this is a life-changing experience. I'm going to try to come up with a way to get to everyone. I don't know, somehow or another, because I'm audio video, I'm going to, there's going to be, an audio, we can maybe come take pictures, those kinds of things, and I can let the students take pictures. I may let one of them snap pics, this time, but something that I can tie in, because I think it's such a powerful thing for these young people to see that might keep them from having to walk this path. Just that little seed, so I thank y'all for letting me bring a bunch of wild kids in
Absolutely.
there, so.
I'm really happy that they're coming, and what comes to mind for me also is that even if that doesn't deter them, they know that if they end up in a situation or they end up following a path where they have a problem with drugs or alcohol, they know that there's help out there.
Amen.
They're not alone. Because a lot of people, we have the DARE programs, and I think that those are really effective for some people. I'm someone in recovery myself, and that it didn't quite do it for me. But there was a long period of time where I felt like I was on an island by myself, and I think a lot of people feel that way. And sometimes just showing up and having your process and allowing our community to see the process of what these folks are going through lets everyone know that, hey, this stuff is out there, it happens, and there's people that are willing to help you, that understand, that have walked through it.
Amen. By the way, I'm going to figure out some way to show this to my students before we come. I think they need to see this. And kind of understand it and have a better perspective of what we're doing. So what is, as far as the particulars, if somebody is hearing about this, let's just go ahead and unpack this right now. Tell them exactly what they have to do, because it's open to the public now. There's a catered meal, and do you need some kind of a head count? What happens with all that if somebody wants to go? What are the particulars on that?
Yeah, so we kind of just wing it on the head count based on our last few graduations.
Yeah.
And it is open to the public. There's not an admission fee, or you don't have to RSVP or anything like that. Just fingers crossed that we've got enough food for everyone. I think we will. I think we went up a little bit since our last graduation. And
since I said I'm bringing 20 students.
Yeah. I think the only thing that I would want people to know, there's not a dress code or anything like that. Some people dress up, some people don't. It's a community event. I would just ask that anyone that does come to try to respect the confidentiality as much as you can of our participants. Unfortunately, we do still live in a world where there's a lot of stigma surrounding addiction and substance abuse issues, and we try to, even though it's open to the public, try not to take videos or pictures that are released on social media or anything like that of the actual participants standing up and, where they can be identified. But other than that, it's open, and we would love for anyone who's interested or curious or just wants to come out and see what it's all about to join us.
Very good. And when I talk about taking pics and stuff, anything that I've done, I give to them. I don't even think about putting it up. I might share it after y'all have shared something. And I've told the students, everybody's, well, why are you going if you can't take video? Well, we're going to interview Judge. and maybe you guys, and what it's about, and those kinds of things. And so it's so funny. I talked to the students yesterday, and we're trying to decide who's going to be the talent. Who's going to be the person who does the interview. And so I kind of gave them particulars, and I said, here's what you've got to be able to do, and you're going to have to stand up in front of the class next week and read this out loud, and that will determine who's going to be our reporter. And who's going to, because I said, not everybody's going to just ask questions. And I told them, I said, and if there's a participant that's willing to be interviewed, but I said, that's going to be up to them. And I probably talk to you, you guys for sure. And so let me go ahead and do one of my breaks here. And we'll come back and we'll reset and continue on with discussing with Recovery Court. Everybody's here. Judge Joel Perry, Megan Williams, and Althea Sick. Williamson. I got it right the first time. Jeez Louise, I'm so sorry. I had a student come up to me yesterday. And they're a handful. Okay, we'll just say that. And you know who you are, young man. You know who you are. And he's a handful, but he's a dear. He's dear, but love him. But he's a handful. And I told him, I said, he goes, I'm ADD, Miss Vivian. I said, brother, so am I. you are talking to the choir here. And so no excuse. I tell you what, let's start right now with Cumberland Connect. I'm so excited about this because one thing that I haven't talked a whole lot about is I'm a photographer, and I've been getting my feet wet again with digital photography and all those kinds of stuff. I'm not going to get into all that, but I'm having to learn digital photography. I kind of hesitate to even tell people I take pictures yet, because my son, who's an expert, he goes, Mother, that's not good. And he's very critical. He's like, no, Mother, no. And so anyway, but he's helping me. So, but anyway, I'm a photographer, and I'm really putting my stuff out there. One of my biggest issues is trying to upload what I produce. I'll take pictures of somebody and I'll say, okay, I'll get it to you and such, but then once I finish all of my editing process, I've got to be at internet that will allow me to upload photographs. And so that means I have to come up here and steal the internet from the radio station, or I have to go to the church where I work up at Madison Church of Christ and use their internet. But guess what? I am going to have Cumberland Connect very soon, because if I put in my zip code, it says they're definitely going to be there by the end of the year. So it kind of look like they might be there in the next 30 days. I haven't seen, echoes of that yet, but I'm excited. It's going to be there real soon. And we're talking internet speeds up to 1,000 megabits per second. That's a gig, y'all, for $80. I'm paying $60-something for right now for terrible service from AT&T. I'm sorry, AT&T. I'm leaving you. After all these years, we're done. And the people have been wonderful at AT&T, let me just say that. But the service, no, not so much. So if you are a Cumberland Electric customer, you're going to have access to this high-speed internet speeds, again, up to 1,000 megabits per second. That's a gig, no data caps. They're never going to throttle your speed. Verizon, really. Yeah, I'm just saying. But you got 24/7, 365 days a year. You're going to have technical support. Should have been with me trying to get some technical support over the 4th of July weekend this past year with AT&T. Yeah, there were some wonderful people in other countries that I spoke with. Very nice, but they really didn't have a clue what was going on. Come on. All right, there's a referral program. Go and check it out. www.cumberlandconnect.org is where you can go and check it out. Put your zip code in, and it'll let you know when they're coming to your neighborhood, because, if you're a Cumberland Electric customer, better internet is on the horizon. And when you get in touch with them, tell them U-Turn sent you. Where do we need to go next? Okay, come on, Megan, get that microphone there.
Well, I just wanted to clarify. You need to tell your son that you take wonderful pictures for us at graduation. And I mean, in all sincerity, we're super appreciative of it, because I think you've been doing it. This is 2 or 3 now, and it's always like Althea and I'm the camera person. I'm always taking pictures, but it's so hard for me during graduation to stop and capture the moment. So we're super appreciative.
We
of
are
your
so proud to do
skills
it
at graduation.
I thank you so much. I appreciate it. But he's super critical. and I'm glad he is. But anyway. But now I'll take I will be there to take pictures. I'm going to get one of the kiddos. I've got one of my students in mind, particularly. She had the camera yesterday, and I think she's wanting to get her hands on it and take some pics. So we'll probably have her helping out. But we have to be. What time do you think we'll get done? Because that's my big dilemma right now. I have to have my bus back at school by 2. Do you think we'll be done in time?
We'll probably be wrapping up around, I think it's about 2 hours. that
Yeah.
it
And
usually
I
takes.
don't honestly think that we'll even go the normal time because it's a smaller graduation
Okay.
this time.
Okay.
So it's not as many participants.
Okay.
That are graduating. So I mean, I think. And
Okay.
if y'all need to head out,
If we have to slip out,
Yeah.
y'all may have to get your closing pictures at the end with your big groups with
Yeah.
somebody else. But I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the students to come and do this. It's just going to be so much fun. We've got some new cameras in, and so they're all going to be with their little camcorder things. But like I'm going to police it. There's nothing going to go out that I don't see. And I may take their phones away from them. I don't know. They know better than to get those things out. They know better than that. I'm just excited. This is going to be a regular thing because I can have them come and do photography and videography.
it. I
I'm
love
excited. This is going to be so good. So we got our angle, Judge, that I was able to keep bringing them. So, all right. So, okay. So somebody's hearing this and they've got somebody that's in the system. What's the process to be considered for recovery court?
Well, they
Get on the microphone, brother. You know how this works. Okay, and let's just say it right now. When you are up there on the podium,
Tell him.
okay?
Tell him.
Just we don't want to disrupt you while you're just pouring your heart out. But listen, this microphone, you need to have it in front of your face, and you need to be on it because people in back can't hear you, Judge.
I'm told that.
This has
I'm
been
told
an
that
issue.
every time.
This has been an issue.
He gave us this super sweet shout out. Like I think last time, maybe the time before, but he's always like this right here.
Nobody heard it.
It's like
Nobody
so
heard
Althea
it.
and I are leaning in, and I'm like, "That's so sweet."
I wish everybody heard it. Right now, brother, on you.
We'll practice
This
that.
is how microphones work. You have to be on top of them, in front of your face.
To get into the program, come into recovery court, it has to be first off a drug or alcohol related offense, not necessarily charged with a drug offense, but related to that, whether it's a theft or some other type of offense that is related to addiction issues. There's generally a referral from an attorney that's representing them, but not always that way. Sometimes we've had folks come into the program that have been referred by the officer that represented them.
Wow.
Or that arrested
That arrested them.
Yeah, and they'll say, hey, I've got this guy that he could probably really use your help. And Megan or Althea will go down and interview them and kind of take the temperature. Is it something that they want to do? Sometimes they come into recovery court kicking and screaming,
Yeah.
and that's okay because sometimes you hit your bottom and you need help. Sometimes you don't realize it until you're into the program. So there's various ways to come into the program, but once you are accepted, then a treatment program is developed, and whether it's inpatient or intensive outpatient, whether it's transitional living that you immediately go to after your treatment, those are all variables depending on the individual's need. Oftentimes individuals that come into recovery court, they burnt every bridge that they've had, whether it's with family or friends, and they come into the program literally with the clothes on their back. So there's, every case is different. So we have to, sort of take them where they are and get them where they need to be. But that's generally the first thing is a referral from an attorney or otherwise.
What you said about the police officer saying, hey, that just fills my heart because law enforcement in our county and in our city, that's their heart. That's what I've seen because I've had them on here all the time, and they don't want to put you in prison. They want to help you change your life. It breaks their heart what they see out there.
We're fortunate that we live in a county where, for the most part, people still respect law enforcement.
Yes.
You see on the news every day where that has fallen down and broken in big cities and communities all over the country. But we're fortunate to live where we do.
Absolutely.
I'd like to add, since we're on the air and kind of in that same vein, that if there are any law enforcement officers from the Robertson County area that are listening, or if you all know anyone that works for our wonderful law enforcement group, community, whatever you want to call them, you all are invited. It goes a really long way with our participants as they're learning how to relate in a different way to the community and the world, to see that you all are willing to show up for graduations. And I think that it means a lot. So you're all invited, and we would love to see you there. And you're welcome to wear your uniforms if you'd like to.
Absolutely. I've seen, I mean, there's always some law enforcement there. Always. So, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to hit on, so how Judge is describing the path, that's a typical referral process, but it's really interesting because what I think Althea and I have noticed, I was just telling her over the past couple of weeks, I had a former participant reach out who had a referral. They knew someone who had been arrested, who has got charges coming up, and they just wanted to see, and they weren't even somebody who completed our program, but they believed so strongly, and it helped set them on track, that they were like, hey, I've got this individual I know, I'm working a program now, I'm sober, and I'm doing the thing, and they wanted to refer this individual. So that's another way, like if you know someone, even if you don't know, like you can always reach out to Althea and I, and we can try to see how to get the process started. So that's a huge thing.
I love what he said about some of them coming in kicking and screaming, because it's so funny to hear the stories where they'll talk. The participants will get up there and they'll go through their graduation, and you can just hear it in their voice about how that they got so mad at y'all over something, but then in the long, it's that they know they needed it. Okay, we've got Mike Ellis on here right now on comments. I love Mike. He is just a car. I told the students, I said, there's one man that will probably be there that y'all will get a kick out of, and I just said that, and I thought he might let us interview him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because he would be fun. I think the kids would really get a kick out of him. So Mike, need you there so the kiddos
Mike's
can,
testimony about where he came from and where he is now is incredible. He's done a great job, and we're proud of all of his success.
Well, and it's so funny because you hear him say, he said, I was in a cycle of I would get arrested and I'd get bonded out and I'd stop at the liquor store on the way home, or I'd stop and get my six-pack on the way home. And it was only when he had the accountability that y'all placed on him, he's like, I've got a better path, but I've got to be accountable. Just somebody saying, I'm holding you accountable was all he needed. That's all he needed.
We've had some people that have they'll have ankle monitors or the breathalyzers, and that's for some folks that is part of their first phase, and they have to have it for the first 90 days or so. Some of them want to keep it because that's what keeps them accountable.
The breathalyzer.
Yeah, and so it's when they get to that point and want the accountability, that shows they're really working.
Well, and he did, and to hear his testimony and hear him say that, I've had so many encounters with folks because of the work we did, because of the work that happens at Madison Church of Christ at the Benevolent Center. Bless them. I have this image in my mind of this. I will never forget this. Going into GFS one day to pick up stuff for Meals on Wheels, I encountered a guy in the parking lot, and you know how you have that metamorphosis image. He just had that look of a guy that was a businessman, an executive type, just all polished up, kind of like you're looking right now. But just imagine somebody that's all put together, just completely disheveled, thin and addicted, and just the look at his eye, it just breaks my heart to this day. And I've never seen him again, but you just want to and that's why I tell the students and I tell everybody, come, because you're going to see the joyous graduations and the success stories, but you're going to also see the memorial and the images of those who did not make it, and you're going to not recognize them, but you're going to see your nieces, your nephews, your sons, your daughters, your mothers, your fathers, your grandmas, your grandpas. It knows no. What is the word I'm looking for? It knows
no respecter of person.
No respecter of persons.
Or status in life. Or I was reading an article just this morning online about a fella who had passed away. He'd accomplished a lot. He got addicted because of a basketball injury in high school, and he was prescribed OxyContin. When that got expensive and hard to get, it went to heroin. And then from heroin with fentanyl in it, and it was just a downhill slide. And he had ups and downs over the years. Things had gone great, but the addiction eventually got the best of him. I've seen it. I know, and people that are watching, listening today, they will know families or church members or people that work for their businesses that have struggled with this, and some have lost their lives. I mean, as great as Recovery Court has worked for a lot of people, we're still seeing the devastation of fentanyl across the country. Just last night I was watching a news story about West Virginia and how it's been ravaged, has the highest rate of overdose death in the country. And 97% of the deaths now are fentanyl related. So it made me curious. I looked up CDC numbers for Tennessee. The latest numbers are from 2020 in the CDC report. Tennessee is the 5th highest per capita in overdose deaths. And it's sad to say it's getting worse before it gets better, because we have an open border and fentanyl's flowing across in incredible numbers. We're trying to do as much as we can. We have plans for the future to increase our scope as far as what we can do. But it can be tough.
And this is just kind of opens up a conversation. I'm going to be very careful what I say here, because I have conversations with my students about marijuana. And of course, CBD is a big thing now. And I'm one of those people, I have arthritis. CBD truly has helped me. My doctor told me to get on CBD, and they're like, well, if you're using CBD, then pot and da-da-da-da-da. Pot's illegal, and it is laced with fentanyl often. And you may only get one shot at, testing something. I have so many students, my parents smoke pot. It's no big deal. It's not the same. It's not the same. And I had a conversation, a student brought something up that was a very, awkward kind of conversation to be having in a classroom. And I talked to one of the principals about it. I said, I want to let you know this is the conversation that happened. And I said to them, the only thing that I think we need to be stressing is that it's not the same, because now it's laced with this stuff, and a joint could be laced with fentanyl that you think's all just, natural pot, whatever, marijuana. And if it's laced with this stuff, that's it. And he told me there was a student, and I'm not going to say which school, and just within the last couple of years, that happened to. Something just as, it's just pot, or it's just this. And it was laced with fentanyl. It killed him. And that's the thing that that I don't think people understand, is that it is just not the same in so many of these things.
I was having this conversation with a judge from up in East Tennessee just a couple of weeks ago at the judges conference, and we were talking about marijuana and how the marijuana of today is not your grandpa's Cheech and Chong marijuana.
No, it's not.
It is so much more addictive. It's so much more potent, and it's laced with all kind of things.
Yep.
And I recently read an article, I can get it to you if you like, about cannabis-induced psychosis. And because of early use and constant use, and because of the strength of the marijuana now, it's causing psychosis with people, which causes them to commit all kind of other crimes. So it's not, and like you said, it's laced, as is a lot of other drugs that people will order online, like, thinking, college students ordering an Adderall pill online to help them study. Ohio State just this last year had either 2 or 3 people, seniors that were supposed to graduate, that died from fentanyl overdose because they thought they were taking Adderall because they were studying for exams.
Unbelievable.
It's constant, it's incessant, and it's killing people left and right.
Absolutely. And again, it's just one of those things. I think it's a conversation we cannot have enough. That's one of the reasons why I want my students to come and experience what happens in your life if you take these turns down these roads. Absolutely. So, if anybody got anything to add, and I can go to a break. Go ahead, Megan.
Well, I wanted to add, not only do I think it's beneficial for them to come and see, but I think the thing too for me that I like is it gives them an opportunity to see, in case any of them want to explore this field for the future for their own work.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when I was their age in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I think it was trial and error through college. So for them to get the experience, I mean, it does, like, it pulls on you, and it, I mean, not to toot our own horns, but it takes a special breed to go
it
into
does.
this field.
Yes, it does.
So I think to see that, you know, at an early age, that's powerful too. So I'm excited for them to be there and get to see it and get to see what it's like to be a
That's
part of
a
it.
good point. And because, I mean, I ask them, what are you going to do? I've got seniors. What are you going to do when you graduate? They really don't know. They don't know. I didn't know. When I went to college for one thing, changed my major a few months later. So go ahead. Do any of y'all have anything to add before I go to break? Okay, well, we'll come back and we'll reset. We're talking all things Recovery Court. If you have any questions about anything that we're discussing, please put them up in the comments, and we'll share them. We've got Judge Joel Perry, Megan Williamson, and Althea Sickle are in the house with me. I just love them. They're just so special, and as Megan said, special people doing incredible work. And since we brought this up, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this because I'm so sensitive to this because this is something powerful for me. I talk about Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center all the time, and one of the primary things that they do is they are a CBD distributor. The plants are grown here locally. It's Robertson County CBD. You got to be really careful with that stuff, guys. You have to know exactly who is processing it, who is working with it. There is a natural aspect to the hemp plant that does help me tremendously with my arthritis. It may be a game changer for you. This is something that Dr. Jeffrey Hodrick, Southern Joint Replacement in Nashville, did both of my hips replacement. He is the one who told me to check it out. And so I take it very seriously, but I don't take it lightly because I know of the stigma around it. And so if you want to know more about it and you have questions, go and talk to Amy Corbin. She knows it, and she is fully, she knows her stuff, and she can discuss it with you and discuss whether or not you think it might be helpful for you. Now, they're also your greenhouse source for anything you need through the winter. If you need some house plants, things like that, just to brighten up that dreariness that comes in, go and talk to them. They always got something beautiful out there. I know they've had a special sale going on with their perennials. Those are things that, while they might not look great right now, they're going to look great if you put them in the ground and plant them when the weather warms, and it will, and you know it will. They've got great handcrafts. They've got homemade aprons and little cozies that you put your soup in and put it in the microwave, and just all kinds of fun stuff. I'm not sure where they are on their stock for pansies. That's been their fall color they've had. They didn't have the mums this year because they just weren't able to do it with Miss Jane's health, but she's doing fine last check. So go by and see them. And as far as their hours, they have adjusted their hours for the cold weather. Right now they are open. They're still open 7 days a week. You can go by Monday through Saturday from 10 to 4 and Sunday from 1 to 4. Now Amy's going to come in and talk to us about everything that is Christmas sampler related the last Thursday of the month. I guess is that next week? Is next week the last Thursday of the month? Oh my gosh. So that morning, Recovery Court morning, she's going to be in here talking about what's going on at the sampler, because that's going to be happening in a minute at the center, and we'll get you all the details on that next Thursday with Miss Amy Corbin. And when you go by there and talk to them, and talking with Recovery Court crew. Recovery Court crew. We're gonna get y'all t-shirts now. Recovery Court crew. We've got Althea, Megan, and Judge Joel Perry in the house talking about all things Recovery Court driven. And so, yeah, this is the last Thursday of the month is Recovery Court. Gosh, dog, man, it's gonna be Christmas in a minute, y'all. And so we talk. You have 2 graduations a year. Mm-hmm. So this one, and then do you have a tentative date for the next one so I can get it on my calendar?
Did we choose a date, or was it the 21st or the 20th?
What are you thinking? It's almost always on Thursday.
Late April is what we're looking at.
Late April, but it's always on Thursday, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be one of the last Thursdays in April.
Yes.
So we'll just kind of file that away. That'd be perfect.
We'll plan to announce next week at this graduation.
There you go. I got you. Final it up. But see, I will have next semester I've got business communications, business marketing, and AV2. So my AV2 class will come, and we'll just have to do something. We'll do the picks or something, something. So there you go. It's already done. I'll put in for that field trip right now. So anyway, all right, guys, where do you want to go next? We've got 20 minutes. Let's talk.
Well, I just want to circle back around to the comment about our participants coming in kicking and screaming. And I want to say that it is a voluntary program.
Yeah.
Recovery Court's a voluntary program. So a lot of people say, well, I'm court ordered to go to treatment, but they have to be willing to agree to the things that we kind of set up as our programming. And I think that probably goes more to the fact that our program is hard. Recovery is hard. It's hard. It's really hard. If any of you have ever maybe attempted to get on a diet to lose weight, I think that's a common thing that people do, that they might relate to how difficult it is to make a sustainable change in your life. And if you could imagine that, but in every single area of your life, every single area, from the way you talk to people, who you spend your time with, the type of work you have, what you do when you get up in the morning, having to go to recovery support meetings and regularly, perhaps forever. It's a huge change. And, sometimes our folks do kind of kick and scream a little bit, and they get mad at us. And, I think we've gotten really good at being like, this is okay. They might think it's personal, but it's not personal for me. And, we know that ultimately, we just did a few of our after graduation care planning meetings because we have graduation coming up. We've got a few more of those today. But sometimes they kick and scream all the way until the end. And then our very last meeting together, I had a guy, one of our graduates coming up that I met with. Let's see, what's today? Thursday? It was Tuesday. The days all run together, especially leading up to graduation. And he said, I understand. I didn't like a lot of the things, but I understand now. I understand why you asked us to do all of them. I needed it, and you all saved my life. And there's nothing that you could do or say that would make me go back to the way I was living before. And I think that I try to remember that as we're working with people that first come in, because it's really hard to understand why a lot of people have such a difficult time with it. But it's all about the transformation. It's all about where putting that work in leads you ultimately. So, voluntary program.
Very good. I love that. And
no one's forced into it.
There you go.
But some will complain the whole way through.
I love it. I love it. I meet people all the time because of Celebrate Recovery and stuff. I meet people, and so your name will come up. Oh yeah, I know Judge. I know Judge. I'm thinking, yeah, you're probably one of his knuckleheads, as he calls them.
Althea mentioned earlier that one of the sanctions that we use sometimes is people having to come to court and sit through a docket. And when we do that, I intentionally have them sit on the side of the courtroom and near the door where the inmates come in, because it's usually on a day when it's a jail docket. And the reason I do that, and when the end of the docket occurs, I'll bring them up and I'll talk to them. I said, why you sat over on that side of the courtroom? Said, so you could see all those people coming in, because you can remember the day that was you, and now it's not. And it's like, oh, okay. So, and we'll talk about why they're in court and what brought them there for that day. And I had one just this week, and we talked about why he was there, and he realizes that he doesn't want to be back in that situation. So it was good that he got to come in and just sit for a little while and see what it was like. So,
do you remind your alumni sometimes? You might want to drop into court every now and then just to remember what it's like. I mean, is that one of the tools?
We actually have a few I think for Althea and I, that's the really cool thing, is we have a lot of alumni graduates who come back to graduation. And I think it's just a full circle moment because they get to see where they've been and what it took to get to where they're living their lives now. So, and then we have an alumni program that everybody in Phase 4 meets every every 2 weeks. And so we love for graduates who have graduated to come back and kind of share with those who are still in the program but nearing the end, just kind of what their experience is out of Recovery Corps, because everybody's looking forward to getting out of Recovery Corps, but then that's life on life's terms. So it's good for them to come back and kind of give back and let them see, like, this is what life is without all of this. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I wanted to touch on what Judge said and kind of what Althea said. That's the biggest thing. Like, it is one thing to take an individual who is struggling with substance use, but it's really powerful when you hear an individual, just thinking about this one that Judge is talking about. The statement this week was, I had a relapse on behavior, and some of his old ways that had come up for him and interactions with other people, and he said, I'm sober, but this was difficult, seeing some of those old ways that I interact with people come up. So that's all areas that we work with. We look at everything. So that's difficult for a lot of people. So
Well, see, and we see so many with Recovery Court that end up in Celebrate Recovery for that, for those behavioral things that they're like, okay, I've gotten beyond the addiction, but if I want to stay beyond the addiction, I got to address this.
yeah.
And we'll see them come in to Celebrate Recovery, and I mean, we have quite a few of your alums that I've seen come through up here at Epiphany Baptist Church on Tuesday nights. Come and join us. There you go, Matt.
Because
Okay, Matt Driscoll.
the first part about Recovery Court is getting them off of drugs or off of the alcohol. The second part, and maybe sometimes even the hardest part, is getting them to learn how to live their lives again. Because for so long, it was just about drug seeking. But now it's about, taking care of their children or working a job, which they've never done before, or learning how to budget and pay rent. You're talking about Open Door tonight. Open Door has been so good to for our people, because it's learning, how to raise your kids. Because some of these people, they were raised, not like, you or I. And they're just mimicking the behaviors that they saw growing up. So learning how to raise your kids and like I said, work a job, pay rent, all those things that you've got to do for life after addiction.
So since you mentioned that, Open Door Pregnancy and Resource Center, the Chili Challenge is open to the public. You will donate as you come in the door. You pay a fee as you come in, and you taste the chilies, and then you can donate more. So bring lots of money, I'm telling you. Dress like the 70s. I'm going to get to be there. Devin O'Day's going to be there, and then all kinds of folks from the community. But the doors open at 6 tonight, and that's at the center. And so I can't say enough about that because that is so much a part of what we do, because I've heard you talk so often about being the parent and learning how to parent, because you talk about the generational people that you see come before you. You want to speak to that a little bit?
That is true. Some people come into to Recovery Court because of, like I mentioned earlier, an injury that has gotten them addicted. Some people come in because this is the only life they've known, because they learned how to use drugs with their parents growing up, or how to drink with their parents coming up. So part of what we're trying to do is break that generational cycle and help people understand that there's a whole different way to live, and you don't have to stay in the way that you were. Oftentimes or every time we have someone that reaches their 1 year date in Recovery Court, because we track all those things, I have them address the rest of the folks that are there in court. Tell us what this last year has been like compared to the year before, and how that is different. And to the person, they say this is, something that they can't believe that they've been able to do this. And some of the people that we reach in Recovery Court are people that are not, actually in our court, because we will provide resources and find resources for anybody that feels they have an issue.
Okay, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to the Recovery Community fundraiser a couple of weeks ago. That's a transitional living
With
a place down.
Blue Ellen.
Yeah. Well, that's
No?
a different one. This
Okay.
is down in Madison.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Lynn's,
Yeah,
the
the
coffee
Lynn, right.
thing, and I can't remember what it's called. Lynn.
Coffee for a cause.
Coffee for a
Right.
cause. Thank you. Sorry, Lynn.
And there was a fellow that they honored that lives there at RCI now. He came through our court for years, when I was a prosecutor, he came through court. As a judge, came through court, and he is there on a furlough out of circuit court at RCI. He's been there over a year. He said it's the longest time he's ever spent in his life sober, and he helps them there. He fishes, and supplies them with fish for fish fries. And he's somebody that didn't come through our recovery court, but because of resources that are
awesome.
Available,
Yeah.
he's doing great now. We got our picture made together.
Well, y'all, next time that happens, call me, because I never get to go to that. And what night does it happen on? It doesn't happen on Wednesday night, does
It's
it?
usually on a Thursday. Evening
Okay.
down at Amherst
It's
Station.
early October but I think it'll be
Y'all
next year
remind
again.
me
So,
next
okay,
year.
we can do that.
Because I knew it was coming up and then it slipped past me because of all the school stuff.
Yeah.
But I really have got to get to that.
Yeah.
Because we've got Celebrate Recovery there in the neighborhood.
You'll probably know
And-
people, yeah.
Yeah, and we've had some come from that, but we were running a bus, but we just, I don't know, we just couldn't get them interested in coming on getting on the
Yeah.
bus with us. But
Yeah.
I need to call in and get her on. But how's she doing? Just off the subject, because I pray for her just constantly. She lost her son. It's been
Yeah.
about a year and a half ago, right before his graduation, his senior graduation. If you know Lynn,
Judge probably talked to her recently.
Just pray for that woman. I can't even imagine losing and I mean, he had like an aneurysm. It's nothing, I mean, it's something just crazy that just unbelievable. I just think about her constantly.
She's
constantly.
Lynn does such good work
She's
down
amazing.
at her program. She's full of life, and is really loves the people that she works with and works for. But she seems to be doing real well.
Okay, well, I keep her in my prayers because I just can't imagine that anguish. I tell you, we're talking with all the folks for the Recovery Court crew, we've decided to call them, and we're going to continue on. I'm going to go ahead and take my last break. We're going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. I've got Barry coming to the school today. I'm so excited. Thank you, Barry. For those of you who don't know Barry and Rebecca, you might not realize that Barry is just an expert in a lot of technology. He was a vice president of a marketing company in Nashville for many years before he went with real estate. He is the one, a lot of these 360-degree virtual reality home tours that you see, he's behind them. He is the one that's doing the tour of Open Door Pregnancy and Resource Center. He's doing all of that. He's coming by to show that technology to my students today, because while we've gotten a lot of cameras in and all these different things, there's all kinds of specialty tools when it comes to presenting audio and video that are specialized for so many different things. And that's what makes him unique as a realtor, is because he has access to that and an expertise in that. And that's why you want to talk to him as your realtor. But again, I'm so thankful for him coming by and talking to my students today. But if you want to have this experience, if you've got property for sale and you want that walkthrough tour, so maybe somebody from California will come and buy your house without even walking through it. That happens. It's crazy. Well, that's what his technology is going to present and make available to you. He's a Zillow certified photographer. We'll make sure you're up on realtor.com. That's huge. It's a drone pilot, so he can get that drone footage that people want of their property now when you put it up online. Rebecca's been at this a long time, one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. They're from Cross Plains. They've been there for over 20 years. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. They're my friends, and you can connect with them if you go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com. And best way, really, just give them a call, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. And when you contact them, please let them know that you and continuing on with our recovery court conversation, it's so funny. You guys you're on my mind a lot, because you're talking about trying to get through addiction and all the things. And when we do Celebrate Recovery, you'll get a blue chip, and then you get a 30-day chip and a 60-day chip and all these things. So I get a blue chip about 2 weeks ago, because I'm late all the time. Okay, just the discipline of trying to get myself here. I want to be in this door and sitting here at 6:30. And there's a lot of reasons why. There's some writing I'm doing. I'm like in the piece of the studio. I can do some 20 minutes of writing before the show starts. So I got that chip to get myself in here at 6:30. I've gotten here 6:04, a little bit late last 2 days. And as I do that, as I walk out the door thinking, well, I'm close. There's not close when it comes to addiction. That's what it hits me constantly, that how hard I'm having just getting to the dad blame studio at 6:30. I cannot imagine somebody that has that addiction. There's a preacher I follow out of Cookeville, and I heard him describe this one time. He's a former addict. And Bobby Davis, if you've never heard him, if you need to point anybody that's going through addiction, he is their guy, because he's one of them. He talks about, he was trying to explain to his mother addiction one day, and she's like, this is when he was still in it, and she goes, I just can't help you. And he said, he goes, you remember when I was a little boy and I'd get poison ivy and you'd put that pink stuff all over me and tell me not to scratch, and I'd lay there and say, y'all'd say, don't itch it or it'll make it worse, and you'd finally just go, oh, and you'd just start scratching it and it'd feel good for a minute, and then it just started getting worse. He goes, that's addiction.
Wow.
That's addiction.
A really, really great example, because I'll just go in very briefly into the fact that there's been a lot of research at this point in our understanding of the science of addiction that shows that there are measurable changes in the way the brain communicates with itself and the body and the way it functions. And so there's such a strong urge, the part of the brain that tells us this is what we need to do to survive, like eating and drinking and finding shelter and companionship. It's stronger than all of that. It actually reorganizes the survival functions of the brain. And so there's this biological compulsion to continue using. And so the difficult part for all of us, even as me, that's someone who struggles and has struggled with addiction and has been in recovery for some time, you can look at someone on the outside and you don't see what's happening in their brain. You don't know. So from the outside, it looks like, we hear a lot of people that say it's a choice, it's a choice. Well, if you were to say it's a choice, it would be a choice like that. There's such a strong urge that it kind of takes over, and it's really, really hard to battle. And so this is why we say we need help, because, for example, if I was working with Laverne and she said, I'm having a really hard time getting to work on time, which we have lots of clients that have that struggle. We talk about accountability and asking for help and what kind of supports can you put in place, because change is really hard. It doesn't matter who you are. And I love the fact that, Laverne, that you have been able to find a way to relate in your life to something that you struggle with, because we all have things that we struggle with. And really for a lot of our participants, it's coming in and needing to change everything. So if you can imagine that, and then times 100 or whatever, all the time, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, possibly even tossing and turning through the night. We have some people that have really hard time coping with stress and they don't sleep at night. And I know for me, if I get one night without sleep, I'm going to be a little off in the morning. And if I get a few nights without sleep, watch out, world. It's going to be sketchy. So, it's hard, and it helps to just be educated and understand that we can't always see what people are struggling with. And this goes the same way for other mental health problems. We can't necessarily see it from the outside, and what it looks like to us on the outside is not an accurate representation of what people are actually feeling on the inside and what it's like for them. And, if you have people in your life who are struggling, or even if you're looking at them and you're going, something's wrong and I don't know what it is, to simply say, I care about you and I can tell what's your experience like with this. And ask them what they're, without judgment, what is your experience like? People share openly when we're willing to sit down and listen and take their word for it, instead of trying to project what we think their experience is onto them. What is it like for you to wake up in the morning and not want to use or drink, and tell yourself you're not going to do that, and then not be able to follow through? What is that like? And the more that we're willing to talk about it and explore what's happening for people, the more we understand, the more compassion we have, and the more we're able to come together and help together. Because all of these issues, the way I see it, it's a community thing. It's a we thing. No man is an island. Not one of us does this life thing alone. I tell my clients this all the time, and I practice it in my own life. We all need each other. And so the more we can show up and understand and open our eyes up to what other people are going through, the more we can meet at the table, be together, help each other.
Amen.
I want to give a little shout out, just Althea talking about that. We recently did a study through, kind of just a guide through this book that, and it's called Midbrain and the Beast, A Simple Guide to Long-Term Sobriety, and it's by Dallas Bennett.
Read the name again. Read the name.
Midbrain and the Beast, and we can put this in the comments when we get in
Okay.
the office. But it was it was really eye-opening for our clients. I think Althea and I were educated. But I would probably be like almost on a 5th or 6th grade level of understanding. There's really cool pictures, but it's such a good description and picture by picture of what addiction looks like on the brain and how it impacts the brain. And we have copies of this. They were really good at Dallas Bennett and his wife were really good about giving us a really special deal on a lot of the books. So we have some. If anybody wants one, we're happy. We love to give these because it's such a way for people to read this, and it's not very long, but it's just it's an easy understanding of like what addiction does to the brain. And I think that's the thing, is a lot of people don't understand how addiction affects the brain. And when you get that piece, I think it changes the game for people, and it helps break the stigma, and it helps people understand. And so I've really been a big proponent of this book. So
I absolutely want to see this. Let me ask you
I can
this.
bring you one next week.
Can I read that to my students?
I wouldn't.
Is it inappropriate for the students?
No, not at all.
Okay, because
No.
we've got this big literacy push at Greenbrier High School in our homeroom time, our cat time, and that's it. We're gonna read it.
No, the pictures are really cool too. I think they keep you kind of checked in. So
we're reading it.
I'll
We're
Very
reading it.
simple.
Yeah.
It even
Absolutely.
has, it's got like comic strips in the end.
Yeah.
Oh, we're totally. That's
got a little-
okay.
little
Get
brain
ready,
man.
I'll
cat
bring you
time.
one.
Get ready, cat time, and we'll be presenting that for sure. We're just in the last couple of minutes, so let's get this wrapped up. But my goodness, this is
You know, in the 80s, the war on drugs was just say no.
I know.
You know, and that's
that easy.
That's a nice cliche. That's a nice term,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, it's not that easy when it comes to addiction. When
Yeah.
somebody's in the full throes of addiction,
Yeah.
you know, and that's something I had to learn back when I was a prosecutor. You know, I prosecuted a case one time where a lady left her child at a crack house in order to go seek drugs. And I
Yeah.
never could understand why somebody would do that. But then learning about addiction through, you know, starting the recovery court and the early training that we did, is that the brain is so, once addiction starts with opioids, that it is so pervasive that that's all you can do until you start seeking treatment. So it was a real learning curve for me to learn that that for people that are suffering from addiction, there are a lot of things that they would not do otherwise.
Let's wrap it up because we're out of time, and we have other programs. You says, Laverne, when you go over, I have programs that come on after you. So anyway.
Okay, quick
So
shout
anyway.
out. We want to just, if anybody in the community, our board is getting ready to get back into action. So if we have anybody who is interested, we're going to put our contact information in the chat later when we get back to the office. But if anybody's interested in being a part of that board, it's the Recovery Court Foundation. We would welcome any participant or any community members who want to be part of that. So that's something that's going to happen in November. So we definitely want anybody in the community that wants to help with that. And then we will put our contact information in there as well, because we want to be able to, if anybody needs to reach out. Anything
Yeah,
else?
I'm going to try to be quick. We have Christmas coming up in just a couple short months. We do an angel tree program for our participants that have minor children, and we invite everyone from the community. If anyone would like to sponsor a child or a person and their children, please get in contact with us, and we will give you more information on that. And just really quick, I know we're running out of time. I want everyone who's listening to know, if you know someone or you are struggling with mental health issues, you can contact Mental Health Co-op, or there is, I believe, a Centerstone location still here. They have a grant service through something called Safety Net. So if you don't have much money and you know you need help, reach out to them. If you have health insurance, they accept a lot of different types of health insurance, but you can also call the phone number on the back of your insurance card to find out which mental health providers are accepting your insurance. Substance abuse treatment, there are lots of programs.
I have a bracelet from one of the.
I thought you were.
mental health.
I was
No,
like,
it's like,
am I not okay?
It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
This is just something. This is from, and I can't think of the complete name. We did some mental health stuff over the last couple of weeks, but that's what this is about.
Yeah.
It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
No,
distract
it's
you.
okay.
I know
Totally
you
threw me
finished,
off.
You finished.
Like,
you
can
finished.
she see how nervous I
No,
am?
no,
Is
no,
that what this is?
no. This is from the mental health stuff we've been doing the last couple of
Yeah.
weeks. But anyway, y'all can have that. I've got more.
Yeah, and you know, back to the no man is an island thing. The more
Yeah.
we sit, and if we're struggling alone, it gets worse and worse. We feel like we're alone, but you know, welcome. We're all human here.
Amen.
And it's about how we can help each other. So I just want you all to know where the support is. The Tennessee Red Line can get you contact or get
Yes,
you in
that's
touch
fun.
with substance abuse treatment in Tennessee. There's lots of grant funded options. If you have an insurance card, or if you have health insurance, same thing. Call the number on the back of your card. What else did I want to say? Well, I wanted to mention that our participants are offered family counseling services as well, and we would be happy to try to connect you with therapists and give you more information about where you can find access to that. One more thing. NANashville.org if you're looking for NA meetings in the area. There is an NA meeting on Tuesday nights at Covenant Confirmers Church here in
Yep.
Springfield. AANashville.org. It'll be AA for Nashville and all the surrounding areas. I think, is it cr-locator.org?
Are you talking about for Celebrate
For
Recovery?
Celebrate Recovery.
Yeah, and you can get an app that has Celebrate Recovery,
Yeah.
all those locations. And Epiphany is the one on Tuesday night here.
Yes.
So, and we have one on Wednesday night in Madison. So, just all kinds of stuff. And I'm so sorry to distract you all ago. Is that everything we got, guys?
No, there's
All right.
probably lots more, but it's
Thursday. Next week, what time do the doors open?
Noon. Oh well, people can start showing up at 11:30. That's fine.
About 11:30.
starts at noon.
At noon, it starts at noon. Catered. And so kind of let them know if you're
food.
coming.
Yeah,
if you're
and
bringing a
Southern
bunch of-
Girls and Southern Guys Catering. Thank
Oh, I
you,
love them.
Sharon.
They're
We
just
love them,
wonderful.
yes.
They're so fabulous. It's going to be a great time. Yes, OU, I know I'm done. I'm over. Anyway, this is 1100 WSGI. This has been One Street Over in Recovery Court. God bless you. Come and join us next week. And I will join you tomorrow. Rachel Culver will be here. She's one of my favorites. And Gwen Harder as well for Faith Friday. God bless. Have a wonderful day.